Mass displacement is once again unfolding in Gaza City. Thousands of families face evacuation orders as the Israeli military expands its offensive. Many Gazans say they lack not only the money and strength to move, but also food, medicine, shelter, and even the chance for their children to live a normal life. Israel, meanwhile, maintains it is facilitating humanitarian aid and warning civilians in line with international law. They're occupying all of Gaza piece by piece. They're killing our children and young people. Today, we received aid through the Zichim border crossing. Every day, we try to find something to feed the children. And in the process, 20, 30, even 40 people are killed. There's nothing left here in Gaza. Hamas isn't here. Israel keeps killing anyway. Why are they killing us? We don't have the money to go anywhere else. I didn't leave at the start of the war because I had no money. We won't leave now either, unless they take us out by ship. If that were possible, we would go. But who will take responsibility? Others describe displacement as a cycle with no end in sight. We've been displaced 6 times, moving from place to place. We have no money, no means, and no strength for another move. There's no safety in moving from one place to another. We haven't found any. God knows where we'll go now. Israel argues that evacuation orders are consistent with international law and says responsibility also lies with Egypt for keeping its border sealed.
Well, the question that we have to ask ourselves is that, first of all, Israel, according to international humanitarian law, when you conduct an offensive for military purposes in an inhabited area, you have to enable the population to move out, which is what Israel has been doing. Hence, the orders given by the IDF for the civilians in the city of Gaza to move southwards. We know that the southern part of Gaza is already very cramped, and therefore the question we have to ask ourselves is how come, at least as the war is raging, during the war, why is Egypt still sealing its border with Gaza? Obviously, if Egypt would open its border, that would release some of the population and provide some relief, temporary relief, for the civilian population in Gaza, instead of being cramped in this very dense territory, to find some type of heaven in the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula. And I understand that the criticism is directed mostly at Israel, but why isn't anybody asking about the cynicism and indeed the cruelty of the Egyptian leadership, which is not enabling any civilians from Gaza to at least temporarily settle in the northern part of Sinai until the end of the war?
Gazans also speak of hunger and a collapsing health system. I'm a sick man. My wife has a heart condition and diabetes. She's under constant pressure. Life is hard. It's a tragedy.
I have 2 daughters who are sick. They both need kidney transplants. The surgery was scheduled for October 7th. We were supposed to go to the hospital then, with the operation set to begin on October 8th. We couldn't do it. We moved to the south and later came back. My daughter got sick again and was hospitalized several more times. We were told she needed another operation at Rantizi Hospital. We went there and opened the file, but there were no x-rays available. To get the images, we had to pay out of pocket. They asked me for 900 shekels for both girls because it's only available to those who can pay.
She says her children cannot even get the basic food they need to take their medicine.
They need fruit, healthy food, a proper diet. There's no help today. We have no way to give them protein, vitamins, or calcium. The least we can do is milk, but it isn't always available. Today it costs 200 or 300 shekels and I can't afford it. There are no eggs, no calcium sources. It's all lentils, and even those we can't always find. How can my daughter manage? She has to take her medicine with mineral water. The famine we're living through keeps me from giving it as prescribed. Without the right diet, it burns her stomach. I give it to her once a day, not twice, as she should be taking because of her situation.
Israel insists it has allowed aid trucks into Gaza and created humanitarian corridors, but accuses Hamas of blocking them.
Israel has been supplying huge amounts of food to the Gaza Strip, contrary to what the propaganda of Hamas would have us believe. A lot of this aid is still being stuck in the Gaza Strip in trucks because the UN still refuses to distribute some of it under the excuse that it is not being distributed to UNRWA. And the reason why Israel refuses to work with UNRWA is that UNRWA has been infiltrated very deeply by Hamas. So basically, there is the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and other foundation, other NGOs distributing the food, but of course a lot of it is looted, mostly by Hamas, and this is a dilemma that Israel has been facing from the very beginning of the war, which is that on the one hand, Israel is committed to supplying aid to the Gaza Strip, to the Gazans, to the inhabitants of the Gaza Strip, but by doing so, of course, it is also supplying Hamas with the resources it needs in order to confiscate this aid and fill its coffers. So it's a dilemma, but Israel is trying to handle it as good as it can. But unfortunately, Hamas has been very successful in its propaganda campaign directed at Israel, talking about famine, about lack of food, a humanitarian disaster having echoed by many UN agencies and NGOs with political agendas and sympathy for Hamas.
Some Gazans, though, say neighboring Arab states and Hamas itself share responsibility for their suffering.
We will defeat everyone responsible. Egypt, Qatar, Hamas, all we want is proper health care. Our first priority is getting treatment for our children.
Well, of course, the Egyptians are not interested in having Hamas terrorists on its territory. But at the end of the day, if Egypt wants to help Israel to win that war, it should help also on the humanitarian side. Now, here's the hypocrisy of Arab leaders, is that they join the chorus to condemn Israel, to demonize Israel, but they don't do anything for the civilians themselves. When is the last time we saw an Arab country hosting refugees from the different civil wars in the region, from Syria, from Iraq, from Libya, and now from Gaza? Never. This is pure cynicism. So I understand that President al-Sisi doesn't want Islamic brothers in his country. He overthrew them in a few years ago. But at the end of the day, when we talk about the civilian population, not all of them, of course, are affiliated with Hamas, and not every inhabitant from the Strip is a Hamas terrorist. Far from it. So again, we see this incredible hypocrisy and cynicism from Arab leaders joining the chorus against Israel, but doing strictly nothing to alleviate the fate and the situation of the civilian victims of civil wars in the Arab world.
For those who can afford it, moving is still possible, while others remain stuck.
We're told to leave this area of Gaza City, but we can't. No one can. We don't even have 1,000 shekels. There's nothing we can do. We're forced out of our homes again and again, but this time we have no car, no fuel, no money. We have nothing. They're asking 1,000 shekels to get out, and we can't pay. Here, problems get solved if you have money.
Israel says military operations are delayed until civilians are cleared from targeted areas, but acknowledges that the destruction makes evacuations difficult.
Well, we know there's a lot of destruction in the Gaza Strip, and moving on the roads is not easy. But of course, the IDF will not conduct massive operations, and definitely not ground operations, until the areas are cleared from civilians. So it will take time, probably in this case, because as you mentioned, moving out from Gaza Strip filled with rubble is not an easy task. But the IDF is committed to the rules of humanitarian law and will not conduct a major ground operation without those areas being cleared from civilians.
Displacement is also shaping the lives of Gaza's youngest.
I want to go back to school and play with my friends. I want to go home and play with them too. I want to study with my sister and get a good education so we don't have to go to the hospital anymore.
I've been displaced 23 times. I have no money and my spirit is gone. My health is failing and I may just die here. My children are sick and some family members are disabled. We have martyrs and prisoners. We have no one with us and no means to live. We can't even walk far or pay for transportation, neither financially nor physically. We have no food or water, and we can't go anywhere else. God willing, if I'm displaced again, I'll return to my home in Aber el Naj. God willing. I'm calling on the Arab countries to stand with us. We don't want to be displaced. Please stand with us. We're not asking for much. We just want to live like everyone else, to eat, drink, to learn. Our children want to learn. Teach them. Even the children no longer know how to play, eat, or drink. They think they'll be displaced forever.
The stop-and-start pace of negotiations is another source of frustration for Gazans. Negotiations for a deal are making life harder for us. They're haggling over minor issues. One week it looks like we're 50% of the way there. The next, one or both sides back off. And it's the same back and forth. Why? There's no solution. It's making life unbearable. Young people feel it most. They'd be better off in peace. The talks keep seesawing. Qatar isn't satisfied. Egypt isn't satisfied. What is this? They're making it impossible for us. Israel rejects accusations of genocide, saying it warns civilians, opens humanitarian corridors, and that Hamas prevents people from leaving.
It's very easy for academics to, hide behind their academic titles to do politics. They do it all the time. There's a lot of politics in academia. And just because somebody's a professor or a doctor doesn't mean that he or she is trustworthy. There's a lot of dishonesty, hypocrisy in politics, unfortunately, in many of those academics. They have a political agenda. They're out to get Israel. This report is dishonest. It twists the facts. It invents new standards just to indict Israel. And it just says a lot about those people. Israel, when you just look at the facts, I mean, the very fact that they can be using the word genocide, there are over 2 million people in the Gaza Strip. According to the Hamas figures, which, are not trustworthy, but even if you go according to Hamas's figure of 60,000 people dead, at least half of them are terrorists and soldiers. So how this proportion of, let's say, 25,000 or 30,000 out of more than 2 million isn't genocide? To talk about genocide, you also need intent. Which intent? If Israel had wanted to commit genocide, it could have done it in 2 days. So this is a libel, it's a lie.
For Gaza's civilians, displacement, hunger, illness, and loss remain part of daily life. For Israel, the war continues under the banner of defeating Hamas, while asserting compliance with humanitarian law. Between lived testimonies and official positions, responsibility for Gaza's crisis remains bitterly contested. For the Media Line, Ahmed Abdel Salam reports from Gaza City, and Georgia Valente from Jerusalem.